Okay. All right. So moving away from what we have done so far, what we are going to go into is, how do we use some of the major concepts of mindfulness into our work? What that is something that we will look at the later part of today as well as in the next session. Right now, however, we are going to open into what your work actually looks like. This is something that you've already worked with Vali on, but we will unpack this a little bit more and look at how it sits within the framework of mindfulness. All right, I'm going to have Pooja take it over.
Should I pull up whiteboard for me?
I've given you screen sharing.
Yeah. Yes. So, like Aarti was already had begun to share, we'd like to now look at what already goes into the role that you all play as helpline counselors, right? So feel free to unmute yourselves and just sort of, let us know what it is that goes into, playing this role of a counselor at the helpline. What it entails, what it looks like.
Patience.
Patience, yeah.
You need a lot
And
of attention, focus.
attention, focus.
Empathy.
Sorry, just give me a second to note those down. Patience, attention, focus. What else?
Empathy.
Empathy. How do these things look like in action while they're occurring in your work? Patience, empathy. If there are examples of how you've used it, or how it shows up.
Basically, you have to show it to them. Like, for example, if you rephrase whatever they are saying so they feel heard, so those things. And phrases like, I understand, I get you, rephrasing a bit more.
Okay, yeah.
We need to listen to them with attention, that like just they'll understand, like they can convey more towards whatever is happening within them. It's all about like how much time we are spending with them, patiently listening, the caller is saying.
How would you convey that you're listening, especially on a phone call? I'm wondering.
Yeah,
You have to
when
rephrase.
Sorry?
You have to rephrase what exactly they're saying,
Rephrase.
and just you have to have that verbal acknowledgement.
yeah,
That's it.
verbal
Kind
acknowledgement, right? Yeah.
And with respect to
And sometimes
patience,
we don't hear also. Sometimes we don't hear whatever they were saying, and that we can again ask them. So this is what you said. Is it? Am I with you? Then they'll be more happy to come back. And so when we can't understand, we have to be really open to them and then tell them we didn't understand. Please come back. So that's what even while practicing I had noticed.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. Clarifying, asking them, am I with you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think somebody else is also sharing. Sham, were you saying something?
yeah, yeah. With respect to patience, right? So when they start speaking, right, so they won't open up, so easily. So they take some time to exactly give their, problem. Initially they say that okay, I'm feeling lonely or depressed, but it will take some time for them to really open up, to get the confidence on you, and then clearly say what exactly they have issues, what kind of issues they have. So, and further, definitely we need to have that patience, slowly ask relevant questions and let them, open up. That's where you need a patience. And sometimes, just they don't want to, uh, clearly mention what exactly their, real problem. Just they'll give you just one liner and then they move on. Okay, they just don't want to stay there, then it's, it's that particular, situation you have to, get that point, ask again, if you are not clear, otherwise, you will miss the important point, because they don't want to, they're not comfortable in talking that particular instance or, problem. So I think that's where, you need attention. That's one of the things I observed in many callers.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that again, like you're saying, clarifying becomes very important.
Yeah.
Being non-judgmental also something I learned more from these calls, or I follow.
How does that show up? How do you?
Usually callers share sometimes very personal things, and or sometimes that they think that is very wrong or something. So even if they share something, do not respond with, oh, why did you do that, or anything like that. Just be calm and listen to them. So sometimes I observed that when people thought that they were doing something very wrong, and then I did not actually judge, or just said okay, then they were comfortable. So being not judgmental helped me even in my work and personal life as well. After these calls, I learned more to be how non-judgmental. If somebody says something, I don't immediately just react on that. I listen, and I think that helped me in these sessions as well.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to be relatively relaxed. Even if the caller says that I have consumed or I have taken sleeping pills or anything, so we should maintain that cool, that calmness, and we should not get panic. So that is more important when we are taking up a suicidal prevention helpline or call a suicidal prevention helpline. So if we are really worried and so if we can't be in a situation, we can't be in a position to give them the best actually. So even if they say that they have consumed sleeping pills or they try to attempt suicide, so we need to stay relaxed, stay calm. Our composure, our voice, tone of voice will definitely help them to trust us mainly, and then they will open up slowly maybe. Yeah, we need some more patience to, and also these things, attention, empathy, non-judgmental attitude, everything, all these counts.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's an important one.
We should not say, oh God, did you have, how many pills did you have, did you take? No, that's what
But
I.
madam, sorry to disturb, but that particular situation, example, somebody took some pills or something, poison. So they called us, now help me. So how actually we have to react? What is our next course of action actually?
So you need to be calm, you need to be cool. Even if they say that they have consumed and they are trying to, okay, then after listening to him, okay, you can suggest him to consult a doctor immediately. Very nearby clinic, he can go approach a hospital very nearby to their place. So, or you can ask the caretakers, maybe his family members, to hand over the phone to the family members and then ask them to take him to the hospital. That we can do. So we need to be calm. We need
Yeah.
to be relaxed more.
Yeah.
We should not get panic because it is going to disturb their calmness.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, just like Vidya ma'am mentioned, the tone of voice is even I observed that tone of voice is very important.
Mm.
The training also we were told to be like maintaining the calm tone,
Yeah.
because when the call is in when they are sad or in grief, the call is it should be more like, yeah, how can we help you, but it's not like, okay, what, yeah, the
Mm.
tone helps a lot. Yeah, that is also.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything else coming to mind about what else is part of this work? What else does your work look like?
It's also important to discuss some interventions with them and not just advise them, but discuss it with them, like what they could do after this call.
Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Okay. So, um, should we look at what, or actually, no, one second. We could look, okay, if you look at this list, right? Patience, non judgmental, attention, focus, having empathy, using rephrases, clarifying, staying relaxed, discussing interventions, and so on. I'm wondering, given what we've looked at over the past 3 sessions that we've done so far, and what you have, and just from your own practice of the practices, do you have a sense of where are struggles that show up in being able to do all of this? And, how, so if we've spoken about the window of tolerance, right? Like how does that, does that happen for you all as people in this field when you're receiving these calls, right? Are there times where you're experiencing being outside of the window as the person taking the call? Are there times where you find it hard to have attention and focus? And let's look at some examples of those, and then I'd like us to explore how we can use the things that we've looked at over the past 3 sessions in working with those situations.
I'll go first then. So during training, we were told not to get attached to the calls or to their what they say. Actually, I mean after the call. But then sometimes when I heard people talking about similar problems, what I have seen or something that happened to me recently, then even after the call, I was attached. I did tell myself that this is only give the time till the slot and do not think about it later. But I think sometimes I got attached and continued that emotion later. Initially, actually, I was scared before joining that what if I could keep continuing thinking about those and then I'll be sad. But that did not happen. But for some calls, yes, I was continuing that. At least when I could, when people were actually seeing the same problems, that happened to me.
Right.
This is one problem, and another one I see is sometimes when they talk about some like very strange situation or problem, and I could not give any intervention. At that time, I'll be like, "Oh, how do I help this guy?" Or how do I help this person? I did talk
Yeah.
to them about these, but I'm just sharing as part of the
Mm-hmm.
story.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Vedu. Other challenges that show up?
Yeah, I think each caller has a different, problem. So initially, I thought, maybe most of the calls will be similar or something, but even after 6 months, right, it's really each call has a different story, different problem. You can't be prepared for some kind of calls. Okay, so it is definitely challenging. Every day you receive a new kind of challenge actually. And some issues, frankly, financial issues. So many people say that they have a financial issue, but associating that they have other issues. So in such situations, we cannot do anything. Okay, so couple of guys said, is there any way you can help on the financial things? Is this organization where they give money? So said, we are not that kind of organization. So in this particular situation, you definitely feel pity for them. So, but we cannot help out. Just encourage them, say that okay, give them some supporting words, and just move on.
Right. Yeah. Would it be right to say that at times then you feel helpless in those situations?
Yeah.
And the other challenge is some callers, they would like to just call at that point whenever they were feeling anxiety. They want somebody to listen to them. We whatever we tell them, they're not ready to accept or anything. They just go on telling what they're experiencing. In those cases, we just have to listen to them. No intervention will help. They say it's already. I heard all this intervention, ma'am. I know about all this, but what do you want me to do now? I can't help my situation. I'm feeling anxiety. I had received one call, and that guy, he's like outside, and there are monkeys around him, and he was feeling anxiety at that time. And I told him, just move out of that place. He said like, even if I move out, I still continue to be having this kind of anxiety, and he's not ready for any intervention also. So those are the difficult situations where like we just have to listen to them, and then they have to be where we are there for them. So that's one situation I faced.
Detecting the prank calls is also one of the challenges. Sometimes people, act so good that, at least for me, I won't be able to detect it's a prank. That is also, I think,
Right. Does that happen often? Like, do you get prank calls?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we report them, and ma'am, they try to block those callers, for some time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And also some callers, they repeatedly call with the same issue. I'll sometimes ask them, have you tried whatever we discussed in the last session? Have you tried those interventions without even trying, attempting anything? They'll just keep on calling again and again. They with the same issue, whatever they were experiencing. That's another challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
That is, some people, they like talking to people. I mean, they feel good that day when they talk to one of the callers. So they repeatedly call. Okay, I'm feeling better today, and then tomorrow again call to some other caller. Yeah, I'm feeling better again. Call multiple times just to talk. Yeah, I think already that was told that call to went, but they feel good, so they talk. They call again. They call again. There are repeated calls like that as well. Yeah.
What other challenges are coming up as you look at this list?
One thing that I would like to add is, I mean, I'm moving towards, like, I discuss this with Vidya ma'am and Lakshmi Garu. So we're trying to do it for the deaf people, right? So I'm moving towards that. And what is the problem right now? There is no one. So I get these random calls throughout the day, in the middle of the work or sometimes late at night, and I don't know these people, and they're just like, high on anxiety, and they're just, um, somebody has given my number, and now it's just there, and I'm in a completely different set of mind. And I just feel like, I feel that, okay, fine, like if I ask them, like, can we do it tomorrow, can we do it at this time, but sometimes they're like, no, it has to be now. And when and it's a video call, it's not even an audio call, so there's no way you can probably, just, do it without really feeling it. So there's no confidentiality left when it comes to video calls. So I sometimes feel that, like, I do want to take this up, and all this is something like very much required, but I feel that, like, if I do it for a long time, I would not be able to survive. Like, it's something that's gonna take like a large toll on me. And this like, I think Veda shared, like, attachment is not even this thing. There's so much of unloading, and it's years of unloading which they have not shared with their own family members, which they've not shared with their deaf friends, because they are not aware and they make fun of them. And just it's just a lot just to hear them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it sometimes feel that, like, why is it not there? And then my next response is that, like, okay, how do we uh, get it into a system in which I'm not the only one responsible. Like, it should not just be that if I don't take this call today, then something happens. Like, that amount of accountability I can't handle. Like, that gives me headache. Like, can I even sleep? Like, I feel, because I used to put my phone on silent, or and now I feel like, what if somebody calls? So that's just a lot of pressure.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for sharing that. I think it opens into also that aspect of just the impact of listening to people's stories and what that can do. Yeah. Anything else coming up for the others?
One thing I felt, which has already been noted, like feeling helpless, that you're unable to help a person financially. So there was one caller who was like 45 years old, and he lost his job due to COVID, and he was living with his mother. So this guy like created a debt of around 14-15 lakhs, and he didn't have any means. Like, there were cases piling up on him, and like he couldn't handle his mother as well, and he was thinking of suicide. And like, I couldn't give him any like what can I give? I got some advice from Vidya ma'am. Only thing I could do was give him some nice words and motivate him to try for another time, or do something else. Like, but there wasn't much I could do that time. So that was one of the most challenging things I faced.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Jagannathan said about financial concerns, I think I also felt helpless, or I think some uncomfortable when people talk about their. I got some callers when they have sexual feelings towards their mother or sister. So they were talking about it's their problem genuinely, but I should not be showing the uncomfort in my voice, or uh, at least for first, second, for 1 to 2 calls, I did feel uncomfortable listening to them and how to react. So that time also, it was a challenge for me. Later maybe I got used to, but first time when I heard about those, I should be non-judgmental, I should not react, and also I should not feel uncomfortable, though those were there in helplessness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, everybody. I feel like we're sort of really opening into your experiences of doing this work, right? And what you struggle with regularly. Anything else to add to this, or does this?
I think like sometimes I myself am having a bad day and I have to take this lot. So it's just like listening to them and feeling bad inside as well. So it's just a little like I'm like, how do I deal with my own feelings as well? And I just feel a little bit tired comparatively.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. Anything else?
And also, like Pallavi said, the attachment or the impact. Usually, I take morning sessions, so I make sure that I should not have this effect on my day ahead because I take 10 to 11. So I don't want, if I feel sad for some caller, or if I get touched, I don't want to put it on my day. So I tell myself, but I think that is also one of the challenges, not to continue,
Yeah, yeah.
at least for, even for shorter period, because if I go to office after the calls, I should not, I should be normal, right? I should not be continuing even if it is temporary or for some time.
Mm. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I just want us to, if I feel like we came up with a good, sort of really good list of things of what helps you all do the work that you do, and also what takes you away from it and leads to struggles. And I want us to now sort of take a step back from all this and look at what we've been looking at with mindfulness over the past 3 sessions, how these things, how we can understand what's happening through that lens, right? Understand what's happening for you through that lens. So, for example, when we look at, when I was looking at this list, right? Patience, non-judgmental, attention, focus, I was taken right back to the list that we came up with in the first session when I'd asked you what are things that come to mind when you think of mindfulness. And I think in a lot of ways, like when you all talk about being able to just come back to knowing that people take time to open up. So I'm going to allow them that time and I'm going to stay patient, right? Or come back to keeping a stance of non judgment, keeping a stance of openness, right? Like just being those reminders of coming back to those things. It seems like those things are central to your work, right? Creating intentions to stay focused and pay attention to what the person is saying, to be able to listen to their story, to clarify if you're not understanding anything. All of those things that you all have mentioned seem like ways of practicing mindfulness, really, like ways of coming back from autopilot into what your intentions are for this person, what your intentions are for the space that you want to create, and being able to do that again and again, right? With everything that you're saying, right? So just a clarifying question is a way of coming back to that intention, right? The stance of openness and non-judgment, reminding yourself that, oh, I want to not react immediately, even if I'm hearing shocking things. I want to try and just center myself here for a bit. All of those ways of coming back to intentions and practicing mindfulness really in your work a little bit. And if that's how we're looking at it, then a lot of what struggles show up seem to also be aspects of autopilot, right? Or aspects of that window of tolerance getting impacted, which is bound to happen because the nature of the work is such, right? That you are listening to stories that are new each time, that are very emotionally fraught, and that can bring up emotional responses for you, as individuals. So like Veda, you were saying, just the fact that when you're hearing similar stories, or when you're hearing about people, just extremely anxious coming in, just wanting to talk and so on, it can do something to our own body experience, right? And it seems like there's that anxiety experience that happens sometimes where you're thrown outside of the window, and you can sort of feel like just listening is not enough. You need to take what I'm giving you. You're calling, you're not doing what can I give you something, right? That can happen. A response of helplessness, right? Where you are feeling like, oh, I don't know what I can do here, right? And then just what that can do over time, that experience of exhaustion and tiredness, that's going hypo arousal, like going below the window because of how much you're having to stay present for, right? And yeah, so I mean, that's what's coming up for me a lot when I look at that list, right? Is how constantly the work seems to be about trying to come back into the window, and then you hear stories sometimes that throw you out. And then there are these ideas as well that take over, right? That you should not be impacted, that you should um, that people should take the help immediately, like what, that they should be able to look at what can help them rather than just staying in that venting space. And so all of those things also then play into this experience where you're feeling this then stance of go away or do something, like really take what I'm giving you, that push pull and all of that, or the confusion of just I don't know how to help, I feel stuck here, I feel helpless.
Yeah, I
What?
like
Yes, Pallavi.
it's like a sense of loss of control. Like you don't control anything. Um, there's small things you still feel that you're controlling, but like basically you don't know what the color or what that person is going to tell, and how I mean, what's the story. So before knowing that, like you, like sometimes when I say that, okay, I cannot take it right now, then you make, I mean, it's like constant decision making, like, do I do that, should I stop my work and take this call, or should I not? It's exhausting to and then you just go by the tone of the message, or like, just assuming that maybe I should just take this one, or maybe I should just, like, so it happened. One girl was constantly calling me, and I was not in the space, and I thought that it's not important. And I just, I said, like, let's do it later. She kept on calling me, kept on calling me like 4 5 times. And I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, that is the time I just like left. I mean, like, I can't be held responsible for every single person in this country. Like, it's just, you know then I just had to stop myself. I'm not gonna take this call, I'm not gonna take any call, I'm just gonna find my center first, and then see how this can be done, if it can be done at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's such a great example, because I'm thinking about like so many things that like you're saying that one, you only have so much information going into it. Like you're constantly making decisions, but you're making decisions of very little information that you have. And it seems like that's where this sort of aspect of, because in a couple of things that you said, right? Like just what helps you make those decisions or helps you know what to do as you're being thrown out of your window, and as you're feeling like this is too much on me, I can't do this. And possibly a part of you is also feeling, oh no, but I'm supposed to do this, and there's that conflict happening. It seems like what you pick up on are things like, oh, what's the tone of this person's message? Right? What seems to be, how urgent does it seem to be? And you're picking up on where you're at as well. Okay, am I feeling centered enough to do this right now? Am I feeling too overwhelmed? Then can I ask for some time? And I'm picking up on these things because, again, these things seem to be ways of honoring and responding from that fight, flight, freeze. in a way that brings our intentionality with it, right? Where you're able to just look at what information you do have, which, and for that you need to sort of be able to just observe what is, right? The BEST of the person, your own BEST, and then make a decision on that. What else is coming up as we talk about this, as we try and understand this from the lens of mindfulness?
I mean, it's just, it's just a thought. I'm not sure whether it holds much. I sometimes feel that the ability to, you know, to see and to feel in that moment to a level of, that mindfulness is about, is is probably not that helpful when you just try to practice it every day at with every activity. If you try to do that, it sometimes exhausts you. Though, I mean, I'm sure it's not about that. Maybe like we perceive it wrongly, but sometimes I feel like, I find that other people are much happier who probably are not looking at this thing in the same depth as I am. Maybe like, just looking at the surface is enough for most people. Or like, what if like if somebody told me the story and I did not feel anything, would that be a better thing, of me living and not, just feeling so much with everything which the world has to offer? I mean, it has obviously, like, we want to experience that, but the how do you manage, like, how much can you take, how much you have to draw a line? Like, is it a skill that if it becomes, after some point, if it's too much, if you feel, if you empathize too much, you probably exhaust yourself of empathy, and then there comes a point that you don't have empathy anymore. I read that, like, what if you exhaust yourself and then one day you wake up and then you say that, okay, then no more, I really have no more empathy left. Is that a possibility?
Yeah. What do you girls think before we about that?
I think I agree with Pallavi because there's actually something called as compassion fatigue, in which you give so much compassion to other people that you just can't anymore. Like you're fatigued. And that is what eventually leads to a burnout for an individual.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I completely agree with them. And extending to that, what I felt is when I learned to be non-judgmental, not to react, those are actually continuing to, when somebody, my aunt or my friends tell me something that they're sad, I end up saying, okay, okay, and not reacting. Like, that's what I got used to, not to react much. Because earlier I used to react, oh, why did this happen? Oh, I'm so sad. Oh, that must be hurting you. So I'm not telling those things. I mean, I'm being very like neutral and normal. Sometimes I feel that they won't understand that I learned it because of these sessions and I'm doing because of that. They are thinking that I am not listening or I am not. Actually, opposite way, they think that I'm not empathetic. I'm not. You were actually listening good before. You used to say okay or you or whatever. Now you're not saying it. I'm like, yeah, maybe. um, that I'm seeing, at least these 1 to 2 weeks, I'm seeing people when they're sad and telling me. Even my aunt, she lost her husband, she was talking to me and I was like, okay, okay. They did not like it actually. So I think I don't know how to limit that nature to just this lot. This is, I'm not a, I mean, I don't know how to do that. I am feeling that challenge as well. I should be reacting when my friend is crying. I should not be saying okay. So I think that is also, affecting. I'm trying to be like different. I'm trying to be different when I'm actually out of the sessions, to be like, oh, you, that, this, and all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to Vida, it's it is, you have to, like, like change yourself, like with every person you meet. It's like constant role change. You constantly evaluating what is that person expecting, what kind of response would be a good response for that person. It's like individualized responses. Again, like, that decision making, sometimes you make right and mostly you make wrong because you're able to assess. But uh, but just that evaluation I mean, you feel yourself lost. I mean, if you're listening and evaluating at the same time, then I feel that you're not really doing a very good job of listening. Because I feel that I'm like sort of like trying to cheat just to make, okay, my response should look nice to this person. It's not exactly the response that I have. So I feel like I'm compromising with my authenticity to please this person. Because like, forget about like what is the standard response. This is the response that this person wants to hear right now, for that person to feel okay. So let me just give this response and get away with it.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that are coming to my mind as we talk about this, right? One is that kind of like what you were talking about, right? That evaluation that happens while listening. And that becomes that question of, how much are these thoughts helping me right now? And versus how much do I want to come back to just listening to this person? And of course, in your work, when you're taking calls, that can be a tricky balance because you do want to be able to assess what's happening while also truly listen and respond from a place of what is becoming visible to you. And we'll continue to look at skills that we can use to be able to do that. But I am largely thinking about how being able to just come back to what you had said earlier, right? Like you use the information you have with the BEST to look at what is needed right now. If that's my intention in this work with this person, then based on their BEST, based on what I am noticing right now for myself, what is a way to respond. And I'm also thinking about what another bit that we were all talking about, which is that sort of burnout that can happen of doing this work. And that's where caring for self and being able to look at what you need becomes important. And we're going to look at some of those aspects and how they look like in mindfulness next time, right? We look at aspects that can help us continue to keep up this work, qualities that we can cultivate to do this, because it's true, burnout can happen and is a very real thing. Yeah.
One of the things that I want to point out to is we need to kind of, another piece to this conversation is intention. Why do you do this work? All of your volunteers, aren't you? I don't know how many people get paid for this work. All of your volunteers, and here you are doing it and wondering about compassion fatigue. You actually don't have to do it, right? And yet here you are, right? And you're talking about depth of feeling and this sort of paradox of I can't get out of feeling the depth and I don't want to feel the the superficiality of life, right? And that's the thing with when you want to do something you really want, that there will be shitty parts to it and you will want to sail through it, right? So it is really important to look at what is it, intention, attention, stance is what mindfulness is, right? Like, what is my intention for this work? And you come to this work not to give money to people. You come to this work because you believe something about those people that are calling and saying, I don't have money, I'm going to kill myself, right? You're sitting on a call. You're not sitting in the bank or somewhere where they will give money to people. I mean, freely, I don't know where they give, like charity organizations. You're not, your charity is your presence, right? Your charity or what you want to give is your presence. What you want to give is not finances, but an emotional presence. You know this about the work that you do, right? You know that you come into speaking to people. I mean, this is a given, right? If you're on a helpline and it's a national helpline, all sorts of people are going to call in, even those pranksters and like people who will tell you random weird things about having sexual thoughts about all sorts of people, that they find dear. And then people who will say, you have money, please give it to me because I need like to survive, right? You know this about this work, and you know that you will still do it tomorrow and today if you are on call today, because you know something about what it means to do this work. And it's again not about giving money, not about saying, "Chi, don't do that." You know that it's not about. It might be about telling people, "Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this?" But you also know it's not just about that, and you know that people sort of do come alive in just being present, when you are just present to them. And that sort of longing, I don't know if anybody can say I don't know about it. This longing to feel hope in our lives, this longing to feel support. We all know that, and that's why you're in this field also. You're volunteers, not even like professionals. Like, this is beyond what you actually need to do, which actually is so telling about what drives you. Right? What drives you is this hope for people, right? What drives you comes from who you want to be as people for others, who you want people to be, right? And it is not, it is, let's make it clear, right? It's not about giving anything other than emotional space, support, courage, those kinds of things. That's what your role is about. That's your intention to come to this work. I don't think none of you come, you know, I don't know how many schools it's a requirement to be in a volunteering program, but really, I know that seeing that you guys have come to this program itself, the mindfulness program, for the last 4 sessions we have been doing this together, you have come, you have been your most honest selves. You've been exploring what mindfulness is for you. None of it you will do if you don't have a clear intention for what this work is and what your role is, right? If somebody is saying, I have taken 10, 20 pills and here I am calling you, I need to stay alive, I don't know why I did that, you know what to do, right? You know what to do when, or you don't know what to do and you're going to call and check out, okay, I don't know what to do, what can I do here? And you're learning, and here you are, you keep coming back to doing this work because of your intention. Now, these challenges, right? The problem is you have very strong intention. If you don't have this intention, you won't meet with these challenges, right? But that's not none of you, right? You're saying, I have this intention, I will have these challenges. There is no way to escape from these challenges because everything in our life is a goddamn paradox, right? On the other side of joy is sadness. On the other side of peace is war. The other side of anger is calm, right? These things coexist. We don't know joy if we can't allow ourselves to feel the pain. So unfortunately, given that you are human beings with great clear intention, you will feel these paradoxes. And I think Pooja was telling this, right? Like, your window is this much, your physiological, psychological window is a certain level, let's say, right? Your capacity for taking in and riding with the joy and pain of the intentions you have set is this much, right? And then completely untoward things happen, as untoward things are meant to happen, right? Because we don't know the breadth and scope of life and all of life and all that shit that life can offer to all human beings, or the good stuff also. But what takes us away from that window are challenges, right? Are the things that where you say, this person was going to attempt and complete suicide because they didn't have the financial wherewithal in this moment, and you get it, right? Your distress is also because you get it. You get what that feels like, and you know that sometimes people feel that helpless that you are also starting to feel that helplessness, right? And a curious adjustment I want to make to that word compassion fatigue is actually, it's not compassion fatigue, it's empathy fatigue. Compassion is a completely different, there is now a much robust definition for what compassion is, and we'll talk about it. And compassion doesn't lead to fatigue. Empathy, attachment that you were talking about, or completely going outside of the window of tolerance is what leads to, going out of the window and staying there is what leads to compassion fatigue or compassion fatigue, right? But to know that I will pop out of my window here and there and here and there, and all I need to do is what you already are doing, right? Remember why you do this work. Remember that, wait, I have done this before, where I have been non-judgmental and it has helped me, so I'm just going to. Or remember that, wait, this person is not taking my suggestion. Do they just need to be heard? Fine, I'll just listen to them. Quickly, they'll say that thing and they'll hang up, and you'll be like, okay, did not know this is what was needed, right? And you learn based on sort of remembering what worked before. And while you might do this naturally because there is a certain type of sort of autopilot to the work that we do anyway, what we are trying to point out is actually you can bring more intentionality to this awareness so that when you do pop out of the window, you know how to sort of come back in to be present for the person that is on the other side, but also be present for yourself. So in the last 3 sessions, we've been looking at, we did these meditations, and then we said in these, in our conversations with you that the breath conditions the body conditions the breath conditions the emotions condition the breath, so on and so forth for our sensations and thoughts. What we were trying to point out is naturally that is happening, but if you bring intention to it, something significantly intentional happens, right? What happens is that you come back to acknowledging what is really important for you right now. What is the most skillful thing, wholesome thing I can do for myself right now? And in that, for the other person. That's what you come back to from intentionally using skills of mindfulness, such as the breath or the coming back to the present moment, right? Or noticing, wait, I'm feeling distressed here. What do I really need right now? You all already do that. But along with that, there is this concept in mindfulness called second arrowing. First of all, there is suffering. That's the first arrow. The second arrow is that I'm very pissed off that there is suffering. Right? First of all, I'm anxious, and then I'm very pissed off or anxious about my anxiety. I'm feeling sad, and I'm feeling sad about feeling sad. Suffering exists, right? Most of this is Buddhism, right? Like mindfulness is Buddhism, and suffering exists. Like Buddha has no qualms about telling you things like it is. Suffering exists. What becomes difficult is that we second arrow ourselves. I shouldn't be having these challenges. I shouldn't feel this attached. I shouldn't feel so unsure about how to help. I shouldn't feel so concerned about the fact that people are not taking solutions from me. I shouldn't feel so concerned, or I shouldn't feel so upset that this person is calling again and again and talking to me about the same thing. I shouldn't feel upset about it. I shouldn't feel emotionally impacted by listening. That second arrowing is what pops us out of the deepest hopes that we have for ourselves and the world around us. Because when we are in that window, when we are talking to someone who's not freaking us out that stressfully, or that intentionally, then we are like, I know you need patience. I know you just need to open up in a little bit. I know I can use all my cool skills and really help you right now. You know these things. You know these things, but they get lost when you start second arrowing yourself in the face of popping out of the window. You are humans with some training, like this is for me as well, and all mental health professionals in this space as well. To be told to not get attached, you can't do emotional work, mental health work at all. To tell yourself, I shouldn't feel emotionally impacted, or I shouldn't be frustrated with this person who's in front of me, you can't do this work. If you keep silencing yourself, already your client is coming after having silenced themselves for 100 years, I was going to say, but anyway, they're already doing that. Imagine you also do that. Who is getting help for what? You can sit and sort of feel solidarity and maybe cry for a nice minute and leave. That's all we can offer to each other if we're both coming from the place of second arrowing. Right? So I am going to have challenges. I'm going to be frustrated with people that come and see me also. I'm going to be frustrated with myself and question myself and my competence. But I'm always also going to say, you know what, not right now. And take a break, do something that will help me. Know that I have, out of 10 calls, at least 8 calls I've helped. Know that my work is not to be, what's her name? What's her name? That Amazon. God. Wonder Woman. Thank you. So I forgot my train of thought. Anyway, I'm not Wonder Woman, right? I am not going. My work is my work to help everybody, or is my hope to share a space of emotional solidarity where I can feel people's feelings, offer some glimmers of hope, and also learn from them how to continue to have hope in my own life and keep doing that. I mean, we really need to assess then what is the role of a mental health volunteer, mental health practitioner, for me, Pooja, Vali. Is it to help? Because we all are feeling these challenges ourselves. So we need to really take a step back and say, what is the meaning of help then? When I say I'm a volunteer in a helpline, and look at this, not it's loaded helpline. So you're going in and saying, I am a helper. So cocky. Right? And then we're feeling like, I don't know if I can help only. But this is so natural. It doesn't mean that they're not exclusive. I can be riddled by these thoughts, and I can be drawn to wanting to share space, offer something from my life, offer something from my learnings, and also help the person see what else is possible, even in the most darkest of darks. Right? So we really need to assess, who am I as a mental health volunteer, mental health practitioner? Am I really this person who's all sorted out? Do I have to be? What can I offer in this space? What are my limits to what I can offer? Does that work for me and the organization? So within mindfulness, Pooja, can you write down the 5 skillful habits? There are, so to practice mindfulness in a way that feels wholesome, uh, you know, mindfulness talks about 5 skillful habits that we can practice to keep coming back anytime we are outside of our window, to keep coming back to, so that we can continue to stay close to what is really important for us in our intentions. Right? So the 5 skillful habits are respect for mortality. What the first one is, respect for mortality. What that means is that, my body is impermanent. I will age, I will wither, and etc. things will happen. Right? So, in the meanwhile, right now, how can I care most for it? So, it can look in any different way, right? Like, so these 5 skillful habits can be practiced for our bodies, emotions, sensations, and our thoughts. Right? So, for example, respect for mortality with respect to emotions is that, this, right? Like, Pallavi, you were talking about it. Sometimes I feel that there is so much emotional impact of listening, I end up with a headache, right? So, emotions affect the body, right? So, how can I respect that is there, that happens, and care for myself? And in caring for myself, I can, like you were saying, is this a bottomless pit, this empathy thing, or will it exhaust? It will exhaust if you're not skillful. And it's very easy to exhaust ourselves because the world keeps asking us, oh, these are your intentions, give, 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 give. I can give. Like, this is the great, I don't know how many times you might have heard that airline instructions in your classes or all because it's used in all sorts of situations, right? Put that mask for yourself before you put it for someone else. And that's just so basic. And we never do that. But we do realize it when we have a headache, when your body says, listen, then you're like, okay, I'm sorry. So respect for mortality is one. Generosity. What does generosity look like with respect to my body, my emotions, my sensations, my thoughts, right? Generosity can be allowing. Generosity can also be, I'm not going to eat this thing. Or it could be, I'm not going to go for this exercise today because I've done too much in the last couple of days. Or it could be, I'm going to take myself out today and drink up some sun, whatever feels like generosity. Allowing within your body emotions, sensations, and thoughts. So, generosity with respect to emotions is again allowing yourself to have these thoughts that challenges are there. I feel attached today. I feel exhausted today. I feel like very frustrated. This person was just venting and my brain got fried. Generosity is allowing yourself these thoughts, allowing yourself emotions that come with it. And sometimes saying, Generosity is also what Trisha was saying. Um, Sometimes I'm feeling very low, but I still go on that call, and it makes me further low. But I went, and it was important. I don't know if Trisha said it was important, but sometimes it could be important. Sometimes it just feels like, what? Generosity is to not go on that call today. Or to say, okay, 3 calls and I'm feeling extremely burdened. Can I do something to come back into the window before I go back out? Respect for limits. Again, how can I not hit that pit that does have a bottom? What are the limits of this work? What are the ethical limits of this work? Obviously, no giving money. You all also know no giving personal number. A lot of these things, right, are respectful limits. Compassionate speech and mindful consumption. Compassionate speech. This is the piece about the second arrowing. Right? How can I bring compassion to my body, my emotions, sensations, and thoughts intentionally, because second arrowing exists? And then mindful consumption. What am I consuming today? So it's not just eating, but also what am I listening to? What am I exposing myself to? These are 5 skillful habits that we want to be able to use to care for ourselves enough so that we are able to bring, it's like a tiny little wayward puppy that you're trying to train, and you're saying, this is where you should be, and then it goes on your bed and tries to pee, and then you just like pick it up and just put it back down where it needs to. Pick it up and put it back down. You're not like yelling and screaming and beating that puppy because the puppy doesn't know. Right? Just picking it up and putting it where it needs to be. That sort of that gentle practice of knowing that this will be wholesome for the puppy to do what its business where it needs to do its business. Right? To know that these challenges will be there. And then what do I need to do to care for myself so that I can access my intention for myself? It is 5 skillful habits. Sorry, 1 second. But if you have thoughts and questions. Somebody have thoughts?
That bit about second arrowing like really resonated with me. It's like I think I do that a lot. I think I did that 2 days back when I was finally able to sleep very peacefully. I and it happened with everything. The chaos was all around, and I don't know, by a stroke of luck, I found that sleep because I normally don't get that kind of sleep. I found it, and then my husband like, no, but you're sleeping wrong. You have to sleep in that direction. And I just lost it. I was like, now I have woken up and I cannot go back to sleep. That sleep would never come. It's like one, I lost the sleep, and now I was just constantly, obsessing about that, how that sleep would never come. Now I would never know how that sleep feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found myself trapped. It took me at least 1 hour to tell myself, okay, it's fine. It's not. I'm not dead. I would find that sleep someday, if not today.
Yeah. Anybody else have thoughts? Okay, I'm going to quickly run through the Brahma Viharas and then we will stop because I know we've already sort of extending on time. Just 5 more minutes. There are 4 aspects within mindfulness that allow us also to continue to come back to our deepest hopes for ourselves and continue to come back to the window of tolerance. These are the 4 aspects: loving kindness, resonant joy, compassion, and equanimity. Now, loving kindness and resonant joy are like vitamins. Compassion and equanimity are like antibiotics, when antibiotics are a very good thing. Um, so, loving kindness and resonant joy are aspects that. So, let me define loving kindness for you. Loving kindness is basically it's one word with a hyphen. I did write the hyphen. So, loving kindness is essentially friendliness, right? Um, resonant joy is like, you must know of these viral videos of babies laughing like continuously. And when you see those videos, you just sort of caught with that sort of infectious joy, right? That's resonant joy. Just this joy that comes without envy, joy that comes without, like joy that comes from being happy for the other person, right? Compassion is made up of a couple of things. Compassion is kindness, mindfulness, and acknowledgement of universal suffering, right? Basically, what compassion is that, it's basically walking in the other person's, knowing the pain that the other person is experiencing, but also uh, the other ingredient is this desire to do something about it, right? To alleviate their suffering. So it is either, a small prayer or this helpline or other ways of acting on our acknowledgement of the fact that people are suffering. That's compassion. It's different from empathy. Empathy is just walking in the other person's shoes. If you're walking in the other person's shoes, you will feel empathy fatigue. That's very tiring to walk in another person's shoe without that component of action where there is presence of hope in compassion. But with empathy, it's very easy to get succumbed and sucked in to the pain that the person is feeling. Equanimity or equanimity comes from equal, right? That word is equal. So no matter joy or pain, to feel balanced, right? I mean, of course, sometimes it's okay if you're feeling very happy when there is good things happening, but balance when there is pain, right? So you can see compassion and equanimity, we talk about it as antidotes or antibiotics, because this is something you want to offer yourself and the other person in the face of pain. When there is joy, when you're doing fine, right? That's when you're able to do all this good skills, no, of empathy, patience, non-judgment, all of that. That already is loving kindness, right? So when you're feeling good, you might want to offer loving kindness and resonant joy. But when you're feeling sort of in pain, this is for yourself and others, right? So in pain, talk for yourself, compassion and equanimity. in pain to offer the other person compassion and equanimity. Right? These are some of the practices that allow. So there are actually practices. We will share with you an audio that you might want to do of loving kindness in the weeks in I don't know when we are meeting towards the end of the month, no? So between the time that we meet, I'm going to send you a loving kindness audio, a couple of loving kindness, compassion, equanimity audios that you can practice and see how that feels. But again, these are great antidotes when you're feeling challenge, when you're feeling like you're popping out of the window of tolerance. Okay. We are going to stop here. Today was primarily about your role as a mental health volunteer. I think that minute. We will look at how we see the people that come to talk to us. But the more you see yourself through this lens, the easier it gets to see the people that come in to see you through this lens. All right. We will send you that, what's it called? Whiteboard. And yeah, we'll stop for right now, and I'll send you all the compassion and loving kindness practices. Short ones, it'll be nice to do them. Yeah. Any thoughts before we stop?
I mean, I'm constantly thinking that, like, the hearing privilege, the fact that, like, I have access to so much, which my deaf colleagues and deaf friends, they don't have to. I mean, even meditation is, I mean, even about the information about mindfulness, and the gap is huge. And it's just, I feel like, why are things not accessible? Why are not for them? I mean, these are resources which would just should be there for everyone, just left, right, center, give it to everyone because it's going to be useful to all. There's not one person who would not benefit from it. So just that thought.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Where are you at with respect to sort of this putting together of intention, the window of tolerance, hyper-arousal, as well as these practices that we introduce, 5 skillful habits, as well as they're called the Brahma Viharas. That's the name from the Buddhist tradition. But 4 pillars. Yeah. I'm just going to assume you're soaking in this amazing information I have given. We both have given you. Until proven otherwise, we shall stop for today. I will see you all soon for our last leg of the training. Thank you so much for your presence today.
Thank you, Aarthi.
All right.
And thank you, Pooja.
Thank you.
I just want to discuss something with Aarthi and Pooja and Vidya ma'am, if that's okay.
Sure. I'll stay back. I mean, we'll stay back. I think we'll also stay back.
Thanks, Aarathi and Pooja.
All right. Thanks, folks. I'll stop recording.